Hello and welcome to Porch Talk here at Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I know I had said that we weren't going to do very many porch talks anymore, but if time presents itself, I'm going to do some, and I sure enjoy doing these porch talks, and it seems like I get the most viewership usually out of these. Some have been pretty amazing, sometimes not so well, but the title today is Why Do We Do What We Do? Why are we homesteading? Some might wonder, why are you doing YouTube videos? And that's not what this is about, but I'll just give you a quick answer. Is several years ago, my wife got me to watching YouTube, and she said you would enjoy some of this stuff on YouTube. So we got to where we didn't much care about television. We got rid of our DirecTV and different things we had. We just kind of got to where, to a point in life where I just loved watching TV. And we do watch some television now. We like old shows, so we get a free TV channel here called Me TV, and it's got Andy Griffith and Gomer Pyle and different stuff like that. And then we watch every night, usually at supper time. Me and my wife, we've got to where we'll watch an episode of Little House on the Prairie, and we actually you was getting that free through Amazon. But we enjoy that type of stuff. But anyway, without getting into a whole lot of details on that, we got to where on Saturday nights in the evening, and we would even set out on our back porch. We'd bring our laptop computer out, sit on the back porch, and we would watch Danny and Wanda at Deep South Homestead. And they have a live deal. I think comes on at 8 o'clock Central Time, maybe 7, whatever. If you've watched them, you know, and if you haven't, you might want to check them out. But they're on Saturday nights, and we got to watching that, and it was a big deal. We would work hard all day on Saturday, and if it's decent weather in the summertime stuff, we would sit on our back porch and we'd watch Deep South Homestead. Now in the wintertime, we don't watch it so much, but I do watch their videos. He does a porch time, I think is what he calls his, and we call ours Porch Talk. We named ours different, so I didn't mean to be anything against him or nothing. And anyway, and there was nothing against him, but I had some people comment that we were copying off him, and I tell you, we're totally two different people, two different channels, and we're just doing what we're doing here. But anyway, just get on to that. They had we really enjoyed that and some of the techniques he used. Then I got to thinking, I want to be part of this family. Others that I watched on YouTube, like Doug and Stacy and Arms Family Homestead, Okie Rob here in Oklahoma, and Deep South here in Oklahoma. Others that not Deep South, but Arms Families here in Oklahoma, and Okie Rob here in Oklahoma. But anyway, I got thinking, hey, I'd kind of like to be part of that family, and I'd like to share. And I also thought that I might help people, because from time to time, people would stop here by the place, or I'd see them in town, and they know that we garden and farm and stuff, and people would have questions, and I was like, maybe there would be people that I could help somehow by doing videos. And then some people that are already into homestead and stuff, just encouragement and sharing what we know, and you sharing what you have and stuff would help all of us. So that's why I got into it. I said I was going to make it short on why we're into YouTube, because this is about why we homestead. And I've done some like this before, but the biggest reason we do the homesteading type stuff, and there's different definitions of homesteading. I consider myself a homesteader, a prepper, a rancher, and a farmer. All four of those all in one ball of wax. And so, people say, well, you're really not a homesteader because you're not off-grid and you don't totally live off of what you produce and blah, blah. I ain't into that kind of arguments, what officially makes you a homesteader, and I'm not into officially what makes you a prepper, none of that stuff. I'm just telling you I consider us into this. But while we're into this type movement, it's kind of the way I grew up. And but the number one reason is we love it. This is a wonderful, wonderful lifestyle. Since we've been doing this the last 12 years or so, I have had, and we've always gardened and done things, but when we really got serious in it, I'll just tell you, and I felt led of the Lord to do it also, but I found that I have no problem getting up in the mornings. Used to, I'd lay in bed, didn't really want to get up, and if you got up whenever, no big deal. And now I rarely ever sleep past 6 o'clock. There's mornings I might be up at 5 o'clock, but rarely past 6. If I do sleep in, if I sleep till 7 o'clock in the morning, that is considered very late for me. And it's because I'm always excited. I love to get up and go feed the chickens, look things over, feed the cows, do the morning chores and stuff. And then during the weekdays, I have a job. I own my own business, and I have to go do that. And I actually love what I do for a living. I've always enjoyed that. But there's times when working for a living would get very trying and stressful, kind of. And sometimes, in the heat of the summer, we're in the heating and air conditioning business. So in the heat of the summer, when it really gets hot, and the humidity here in Oklahoma is really, really tough, or anywhere around where we used to live in Arkansas and Missouri for a while. In the middle of the summer, when the heat's on, is when you just get super busy and work all kinds of hours. So it would get kind of trying. Well, with the way we do here at the homestead, every morning I'm always excited to get up. And if I had an opportunity to, I would do this all the time. In fact, I have thought about, will be 51 this summer, and I have looked at kind of making goals of when I turn 55 to try to, I can't say that I would totally get out of my business, but turn more of it over to my son and slow down and just enjoy this homesteading type lifestyle, because it's what I really, really love. So we're gearing things up here, building things, fixing things in place. We're also thinking about aging in place. I know some of you are quite a bit older than me that do videos. Some of you are younger. But some of you that are older, you are talking about getting older and your aches and pains. I can tell you, I'm not what I used to be. The old gray stallion isn't what he used to be. I can tell, and I do more aches and pains. My energy levels ain't. So we're trying to build and get a lot of stuff done and get it prepared, and stuff that will last. We put a new roof on our home last fall, and I told my son, I said, when we do this, I want this, I'll put a metal roof on, I want it done right, and I want something that in 30 years from now, when I'm 80 years old, I don't want to have to be worried about my roof leaking. I don't want to have to climb up her. So we're trying to make stuff that will outlast us, and the next 30 years or more, I don't want to have to redo. Another thing is, as you get older, you're not going to have the energy. And when I get up another 30 years, if I get 80, if I live to be 80-year-old, I'm not going to probably be able to climb on top of the house and stuff like that. But we love what we do. I like the old time stuff too. The old type way of doing things. And we don't do a lot of stuff the sure enough old time way. Some of you have commented wanting to know what's up with the antique stuff. And I guess I had thought maybe they thought that we were doing different props to do porch talk. And I'm not. We bought my parents' place a year or so ago, and it's right here by where we live, and you've seen some of it on videos if you've watched my videos regularly. So I can use these porches, and my dad collected antique stuff, and they travel now, and so when we bought the place, the deal was we bought everything, the antiques, the old farm equipment, the house, the whole works. So I can come down here and sit on this porch and anywhere I want to. And he collected stuff. So today I'm sitting here, and I don't have them named or whatever. Sorry, I don't have coronavirus, but this cool weather gets my nose running, and I don't know if you could put cotton up in your nose and soak it all up or what. But I apologize for this. Doesn't look appropriate, but probably don't even sound appropriate, but it is what it is. But he collected antiques. My wife loves antiques, probably why she keeps me, because I'm antique. When we go to church, all the people are older. I just like old stuff. She likes old stuff. My dad and mom, they like old stuff. So anyway, but my dad was really into this stuff. He'd go to auctions and things, and if he found something old, and sometimes people just gave him stuff. So there's lots of old stuff around here, and it probably isn't worth doodly squat, but it's just sentimental to me. And here a while back, I was like, when I'm up at the house, and you might hear some today, but the turkeys, we raised turkeys last year, and they just gobble, gobble, gobble. And I love hearing them gobble. The guineas get started. Down here, it's kind of a little more peaceful, although the wind's blowing today. So that's the whole deal with this. But I like the old time stuff, and I used to love, and I still do today, but they're passing on quickly, is the old timers. And I love hearing my dad talk about the old time ways. But my grandfather lived just right around the road here. I'm named after him. And he had a ranch and stuff, and they were kind of like homesteaders. He, even in his older years, he didn't every year, but he would raise a hog and butcher and do some things in with old time ways. And he had a little building out there where he salted the meat down, and we'd go out there. He also fed his chickens, kept corn and stuff in their feed. And we went in one day out there, and there's some of that meat that he had laying on the shelves had actually been chewed on by mice and stuff. And I said, Grandpa, do you still eat that? And he's like, yeah. He said, you still eat it. I guess it's just an old time way. Some of the hams and stuff would get like a green mold on it. You just cut that off, I guess, and eat it. So they'd can sausage and put it in jars and do things. And they lived to be, my grandpa's lungs failed him, but he was a smoker for most of his life. He also did heavy equipment operating, helped build dams and bridges and stuff around here, and drove loaders and bulldozers and scrapers and things back in the day. And they didn't have cabs where you were sealed in. They didn't know anything about clean air or anything like that. So when he got on up, about 80 or so year old, he started having lung troubles, and he succumbed to that. But up until that point, they did a lot of old time ways still, and they loved it. And they as soon as he was old enough to draw Social Security, he quit. In fact, I think he quit 4 or 5 years before he was old enough to draw Social Security. He just lived off of what his place made. They raised their own food and stuff, and they lived a comfortable lifestyle, and they loved it. And we actually ended up, when he passed, was what I consider pretty well off. They were doing good. But anyway, I just always enjoyed the old time stories. And I've got a video about goat dairying, and I took a tour across the road from where we live. Our neighbors had an old goat dairy, and so if you hopefully that's out this week. I had it uploaded to YouTube, and I went to watch the video before I released it, and the caption says touring an old goat dairy. Well, it stayed on. I've got this new software. I'm trying to do better with this modern stuff. Well, it had the caption through the whole video, and I thought I had it just at the start of the video. Well, it's blocking half of it off with this bold caption across there that says touring an old goat dairy. So I had to redo it. I had to delete it off of YouTube and go back and edit the video, which was no big problem with this new software. It really done well with it. And then I've got to upload it again, and so I'll be airing that out there. But anyway, they milk goats across the road from our home, and I showed that on that video. And if some people wouldn't be a bit interested in that, I understand if you aren't. That's one thing I love watching YouTube, but there's a lot of videos that don't interest me at all. But there's some that do. So I have people regularly that I check out their channel, and I watch the things that are interesting to me. And if it ain't, I just skip it. It ain't that I don't give them a thumbs down or nothing. It's just like, well, it's really just not up my alley today. So but some things I really enjoy, and I like watching about the old time ways. So that's one reason that we do what we do, is we love the old time ways. But our neighbors over here, and I share this on the video, were sure enough, if there's ever homesteader people today, if they were still alive and doing what they used to do, they would have made the perfect YouTube videos for homesteading. And they really knew their stuff, and they had old time remedies stuff. But they used to tell a story. They lived in Arkansas, and they were having a rough time. Most people were, and California was booming. And they decided they would go to California to work. Some of their relatives had went out there, and they had heard that there was a place, a labor camp they called it. So they went out there to this labor camp. They took all their money they had, everything to get there, sold out what they had in Arkansas, and they got over there into California, and the day they showed up, the labor camp pulled out, and they didn't have a job. They had no money. I don't know how they had a place to live. I wish they were alive today where I could question that. They may have lived in a tent. I know back in that time a lot of people did. But she said they almost starved to death. And they had children, and they had just a really, really rough time. And she said that they lived on canned tomatoes and cornbread. And she said that she had brought a bunch of canned tomatoes with them that she had canned that year. And I don't know where they got the corn to make the cornbread, if they brought that with them or already had it milled up, whatever. But that's what they lived off of. And she said the next spring, her husband, the only time he was ever in debt, he went in debt for a milk cow, and he got it from a farmer there and had to work for that farmer to pay off this milk cow. And she said the next year they ate like kings. They raised a big garden, and they got some chickens, and said that hens would set, and they would double set, like you have two hens go to setting about the same time. One would hatch, so you'd pull babies off of this, both hatch about the same time. You take the babies off of and put together with one hen, and this hen, you try to get her to keep setting. You put more eggs under her, hopefully another hen setting, and you try to get as many baby chickens as you can. And so the next fall, when it come time, well, you just kill chickens as you need it. Once they're big enough to eat, you start butchering them, frying them, whatever. Then as they get bigger, the roosters and stuff, you bake them. You get the eggs once they start laying. But she said that they lived really, really well after that. And she always believed we were going to go back into a depression-type era. And her and her husband were great Christians. They had great faith. If you ever needed prayer, you could ask them to pray for you. And it wasn't one of these deals where they say, yeah, I'll pray for you. They were going to pray for you. And they knew how to pray, and God would move in a mighty way for you. And I had them pray for me before, and I really believe because of their prayers and because of the power of God that God moved on my behalf. So I'm just telling you, I'll maybe one day share some of these stories, but if you're a Christian, you understand what I'm talking about with the power of prayer. I will say this, if you're a homesteader and you're a Christian, homesteading will definitely keep you humble and will keep you praying, because there are always challenges and there's things that are outside of our control. So it is, I feel, a spiritual connection in homesteading. I feel a blessing from God when you take and trust Him, and you plant and you work the land and you trust Him to send the rain and stuff. And I know some people do more complaining than they do praising, but I want to praise God for the blessings that He has done and this good life that we have here. I'm so thankful for what the Lord has done. And if it wasn't for Him, He sends the sunshine. He sends the rain. I try not to complain. I try not to gripe about the rain. I try not to gripe about this or that. I know some on YouTube sometimes, there's some channels I've had to quit watching because they were just a whiny bunch. They was always whining, whine about this, whine about that. And I was like, they never had nothing positive. That bugs me. Tell about the good things. And I'll tell you a little story about this couple here. She used to tell that when they were out there in California, they didn't have any meat to eat, and they ate on cornbread and canned tomatoes mostly, and occasionally they might kill some wild game or something. But she said that it was one of the holidays, either Christmas or Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure she said it was Christmas, but it's been a while since the story, and I wish she was here to share the story. I would go do a video and have her tell the story, but it was wonderful. She said that there was no meat, and she wanted for this holiday to have some meat for her children. And she said she got down on her hands and knees and prayed and asked God to send a blessing to them. that she wanted some way, money or whatever, where they could go buy some meat or some way to feed her children. And she said that while she was praying, the children started hollering, saying, "Mama, Mama," said, "there's something that's landed out in the front yard." And so she went outside, and she said a goose, an old snow goose, had died and landed in their front yard. And she said that what they believed had happened is that some hunter somewhere had shot this goose. It was injured, but it made its way and landed in their front yard. So she went out and she went out and got the goose, cleaned the goose, and they had meat. And didn't complain about what they had. So, oh, sorry about that. Anyway, they didn't complain about not liking goose. I don't remember them living here. We had a lot of geese. I don't know that they ever ate goose or duck. I never remember her inviting us up for a goose dinner or nothing like that. But they didn't complain about it. They were thankful. If you know anything about an old snow goose, you ain't going to get a whole lot of meat off of one snow goose either, but or a Canadian goose or any of that. For a family, it would take several. But I never remember her complaining about that or having any. Her or her husband, they were thankful to get what they got. And one problem with Americans today is we're not thankful. We take it for granted what we have. And you have people wanting to do away with raising beef. They want to do away with this. They want to do away with that. And they complain and mumble and grumble and all this junk. And I'm telling you, instead of mumbling, grumbling, and complaining, we need to be thanking the good Lord for what we have, because it could be gone in a nanosecond. It could be gone. And I know a lot of us that are homesteaders, we think, well, we're kind of self-reliant and we got it made. We can't make it without God, and we have to have the Lord. And I don't know what I'd do without God. There's a song that says I can't even walk without Him holding my hand, and I certainly have to have Him holding my hand. Didn't mean to turn this into a devotional today, but I tell you, if you're a believer and you believe in God, our country needs to turn back to God in a bad way. And I feel like as homesteading, that it helps in a way when you're out working every day and you're working raising cattle, goats, pigs, chickens, whatever. You raising a garden, you understand how important and how a vital role. People talk about global warming. I'm telling you, God is in control of the environment. And I believe things are happening for a reason. I think things may be warming up. I'm not against all that. I'm not saying it's not warming up. Don't criticize me because I did say this. I do know it is warming up here. But I think God's heating this place up. And I believe if you believe the Bible at all, read the book of Revelations. There's some bad things coming. And these plagues that we're having now, this coronavirus and stuff, every time I think in the Bible, I was like, boy, it could be the times. If it ain't, that's fine with me. If it is, regardless, I'm going to be ready for whatever. And but we think sometimes, well, we get enough food put back, we get everything laid back, we can make it. We can't make it without God. We're going to have the Lord. And even people that prepare, you get everything laid back, all of your foods, you get everything, water, get everything ready. And then along someone breaks in and destroys it, your house burns down, a tornado comes, floods come, earthquakes come, and destroys a lot of what you have. I realize as a homesteader, we're always working, trying to prevent these things from happening, trying to work on things to strengthen what we have. But I don't think you'll ever be prepared for everything, and it takes the Lord in our lives. But a homestead, because I enjoy it, homestead because it gets you close to the Lord, I feel like. A good spiritual connection there. And I also homestead because it keeps you humble. before the Lord and before other people. But anyway, some might wonder why we do what we do, and that's the reasons there. But number one is we just enjoy. I've said that so many times, but I love this lifestyle. Some people never find what that really gets them enjoyment in life. And I've told my son, he works with me, and he likes what we're doing. But when he was first getting started, sometimes he'd be like, he didn't know if he really wanted to do what I'm doing, you know, the heating and air conditioning business, if he really wanted to be into that. And I told him, I said, son, go do what's going to make you happy. As long as it's pleasing in the eyes of the Lord, do what's going to make you happy. You know, pray and ask God and say, God, what would you have? He knows what would make you happy. But finding that peace of mind that passes all understanding, and God can help you with that. Some people are stuck in ways that they can't get out of. You know, it's just their lot in life, and they're in situations, it seems like they can't. But I still believe that with God's help you can find peace. And I think it's a problem with a lot of folks. They just cannot find peace. Even some people homesteading and doing what we do, they cannot find any peace. And I tell you, I'm glad for that peace of God that passes all understanding. I feel for folks, a lot of folks, you can tell it in our world, in our political system, and the way people are. They're so dissatisfied with their life. They're so dissatisfied with our country. Even some blame God and are so dissatisfied with God. And I feel for them. All I can say is I feel for them, but I'm glad to be in this way. I've probably rambled on here long enough. I just want to say I appreciate you watching this week. And if you haven't subscribed, I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate your patience as I'm learning to do better videos. I hope this video will be better enhanced with this new software. Maybe have a better picture quality, and maybe I can do a few little things better with it. And I appreciate your patience with all that, and appreciate hey, I sure appreciate you watching. God bless you. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have your subscription. If you are a subscriber, once again, I want to say thank you. God bless you. We're gone.